Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about 538's new election forecast. They actually haven't done a single election forecast since Kamala Harris took the nomination, since Joe Biden dropped out of the race. So we have been waiting for this 538 forecast for quite some time. Of course, these forecasts are awaited and watched, to see what they project the result to be at this point in time. But in their new election forecast for 2024, this is their first election forecast in the Harris versus Trump matchup. Kamala Harris has a 58% chance of winning the election. Donald Trump has a 41% chance. I would wholeheartedly agree with something like this. This is just about where if I had to put chances on it, looking at the electoral map, and how, each candidate's path to victory. We do that a lot on this channel, looking at how each candidate could win the election. I feel that it is significantly easier for Kamala Harris to claim victory in 2024, but it probably won't be a landslide. I would put it, just about 60-40, 58-41. So they run a simulation of the 2024 election map. They do it 1,000 times. In 582 of them, Kamala Harris won. In 414 of them, Donald Trump won. And in 4 of them, there was a 269-269 nightmare scenario where they tied. So as you can see here are all 1,000 of the simulations. We've got 535 for Trump to 3 on the ends. 327 to 11 for Trump. But whatever. But what I think is, or we can even see here, just as a point of reference, how they didn't release their map or their forecast to the public, but they have been tracking it since Harris, became the presumptive Democratic nominee. And what you see is that Trump was ahead. He was projected to get, at his peak, 277 electoral votes. Harris, 261. But then, soon enough, some days later, August 8th, just some days ago, Kamala Harris took the lead, 272 to 266, very close election, and since then she has been able to expand her lead. She is now projected to get 287 electoral votes, Donald Trump 251. So definitely not a huge margin, but it's a lot healthier than it was before for her campaign. Now what I think is even more interesting, and what we should be looking at more, is not just the percentage forecast, but it's actually the forecast of the electoral map. So they give us not only a percentage that each candidate has of winning every state of the nation, like the actual election, but a forecast of each candidate's chance in each state. So what you see here, just for example, we can hover over these states. In Wisconsin, they project that it will be a lean Democratic state. Harris wins 61% of the time. Not 61% of the vote, but she wins in their simulation 61% of the time. Michigan, she wins 62% of the time. Pennsylvania, she wins 55% of the time. North Carolina, Donald Trump wins the state of North Carolina. That's big. This is a red state, but Harris does lead in many of the new polls. Donald Trump only wins 52% of the time, so that's just about a toss-up. In Georgia, Donald Trump wins 53% of the time. So that's interesting. That is very shocking. Georgia, they say, is more in Donald Trump's column than North Carolina is. And honestly, I do agree with that in some respect. I don't know if I would say that it will be closer, but I definitely agree that Georgia and North Carolina are just as about competitive with each other for Kamala Harris as of now. But again, North Carolina, 52% for Trump. Georgia, 53% for Trump. And then we have Arizona. These are all, I'm just going over the battleground states here. Arizona, Kamala Harris wins 54% of the time. In Nevada, Kamala Harris wins 55% of the time. So, again, I just went through 7 battleground states: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. And Kamala Harris wins 5 out of the 7. So you see they give us, this forecast for each state here up at top. We see it goes from a solid Democrat, likely, lean Democrat, and then toss-up, which is still, someone still wins, but it is toss-up. So I made the map. I made a map of the forecast, of their actual forecast when you go state by state. And this is the result. We see that Nevada, this just makes it way easier to see here. Nevada and Arizona, as well as Pennsylvania, are all tilt Democrat. So that should be concerning for the Harris campaign because, Nevada and Arizona, those are definitely going to be close. But especially Pennsylvania, that's critical in 19 electoral votes. And even though she is leading in the 5 of the 7, 3 of them are incredibly close. They're tilt margins. They're basically toss-up states. They're toss-ups officially in the forecast. So a state like Pennsylvania, where Joe Biden was estimated to win handily, not handily, but you get the idea. I can actually pull it up here. Okay, well, I guess it was actually really close too. I didn't know that. But this is the forecast from 2020. In Pennsylvania, Biden was estimated to 50, or this is the forecasted vote share. But I'm trying to find the chances of winning each state. But I don't know if it'll show us here. Yes, so here this exactly proves my point. In the 2020 forecast, Joe Biden was estimated to win Pennsylvania, and in their forecast, he won 84% of the time. In the simulations, he had an 84% chance of winning Pennsylvania. Now, he only won it by 1.2%. It was closer than anyone could have expected. So with Harris now winning only 55% of the time, that's concerning. Now, let me just further prove my point here. Biden won 84, he had an 84% chance in this 538 model back in 2020. 84% chance. That resulted in them estimating he would win by, it was 47.3 for Trump and 52 for Biden. So let's call it, he was estimated to win the state of Pennsylvania by 5%. It was 4.7%. We'll call it 5%. That was his estimated margin in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, he ended up only winning it by 1.2. So that means this forecast overestimated him by 3.8%. Now again, that was with an 84% chance of winning the state. So now for Kamala Harris, if she only has a 55% chance of winning the state, and Biden was so overestimated by 3.8% back in the last election in 2020, this should be an area of concern. Regardless, she does win the election. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, as well as Nevada and Arizona, 2 Sunbelt states that were in Donald Trump's column not too long ago, they all fall in her column. That gives her 287, again, electoral votes, as I just said before. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, 251. Now, the good news for her is that while she has extremely close states that are basically toss-ups, Donald Trump does as well. North Carolina and Georgia are both tilt. They are also just, officially toss-ups. They are basically toss-ups. They could very easily go either way. Again, in the forecast, North Carolina is so close. I mean, Trump is estimated to win 52% of the time. Not 52% of the vote, but he has a 52% chance of winning the state. Georgia, just a 53% chance of winning the state. So again, very interesting that North Carolina is going to be closer, according to 538, than Georgia is for Donald Trump. That should be a main takeaway of watching this video. It looks like we have to watch North Carolina more than Georgia. And again, I actually might agree with that. I mean, just like them, I think that that the margin will be just about even. But they are saying that North Carolina is going to trend to the right. Trend to the left. And way more than Georgia. So much so that that Georgia actually votes to the right of North Carolina. Now, I didn't bring this up before, but if you didn't know, Georgia voted for Biden in 2020 by 0.2. North Carolina did not. So you'll see if North Carolina is now going more Democratic than Georgia, that would be a real shock. That is something we definitely need to keep our eye on. So these 2 states, it'll be interesting to see how they trend over time if they become more Democratic. Kamala Harris could just get a small boost out of this convention, and that will make 538's forecast flip North Carolina in her favor. That would mean North Carolina, it could very easily be North Carolina and Georgia, giving her 319 electoral votes. Not so much of a close election at all. Now, that was with the battleground states. We see that we also have some other characterizations for states. Notably, we have Texas lean Republican. That means that it's getting closer from 2020. We have some weird surprises. Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Indiana are all likely. Those trend to the right if this does hold up. I doubt that'll happen, though. And then we see states like Minnesota and New Mexico, Virginia, New Hampshire, Maine. States that were Democratic, that were looking so competitive, even in 538's model, that in their forecast, when Joe Biden was the nominee, they are pretty deep in Kamala Harris's column now. I mean, she has been able to really energize this Democratic base, and that especially helps in actual blue states. I mean, we've got Minnesota, 80% chance of going to Kamala Harris. Virginia, 84% chance. New Mexico, 87%. So you got New Hampshire, 77%. You know, that's good for New Hampshire. New Hampshire went to Hillary Clinton by like 0.2% in 2020. Maine, 84% chance. So, you know, these are deep into a column now. We don't have to worry about these. We don't have to talk about these anymore like we had to when Joe Biden was the presumptive Democratic nominee. Some other states, brought up Texas, that's a 74% chance. So still very deep into Donald Trump's column. But still, I mean, 74 isn't 90, right? There is a big difference. That means that Kamala Harris, a quarter of the time, is going to win Texas. Florida is even closer, 68-32. But again, I mean, you got Florida, which 538 estimated to go to Biden 69% of the time. He had a 69% chance of winning Florida. Donald Trump won Florida by quite a lot, 3.4%. So again, 538's model can be very flawed in some states, or, you know, even overestimating Trump, you know, at the nation, or sorry, overestimating Biden as a nation as a whole. But I mean, especially in some states like Florida, North Carolina, it can be flawed. But regardless, it's always interesting to check up on how this race has changed, and it looks a lot better for Kamala Harris now than it did for Joe Biden just a number of weeks ago. So thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe down below. Sorry about that. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before Election Day. So if you could help me get there, that would help out a lot. But again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.